Today we're talking to St Albans City manager Ian Allinson down on the south coast, where the Saints have wound up their National League South season with a defeat 3-2 away to Eastbourne Borough, but it's a result that doesn't tell the tale of the match. The first half, Ian, I felt we'd probably been better on the beach just talking to the seagulls. We hit the post though, ended it strongly, but the second half, one-way traffic, and it was us doing all the driving, but somehow we lost.
Well, yeah, I think you summed it up. I think it took us a while to get used to the pitch. Obviously, it's different to what we've been training on. It's different to what we played on when we played Hendon the other week. It's a little bit more lush and it's a little bit slower today than we expected. We thought it might zip through a little bit. Obviously, a bit of wind. It took us a bit of a while to get to grips with it. But I felt once we did, I thought it was outstanding. I felt second half performance, one of the best performances again, as we said last week. We created chance after chance after chance. Didn't score them. But every time they put a ball over our back four, we looked like we were going to concede a goal. And the first two goals we conceded were poor goals, long balls over the top. I'd argue that the first one is is handball. I'd like to see that again. It looked like he brought it down and held it in his hands before he broke through, but he took it really well. And then the second goal was just as bad, a ball over the top. We haven't defended it properly. We're 2-0 down, but we still kept believing. We played some unbelievable stuff, got back to 2-2, and then really should have gone and won it. We had 3 or 4 chances at 2-2 to win the game, and got done again by a sucker punch like we did at Whitehawk the other week, where we defend the first ball, it's the second ball, we don't defend it properly. Again, Sully's probably had a chance to just clear his lines, hasn't done it. He looked to try and pass the ball, and their fella really is come inside and he's finished one in the top corner again, so disappointing.
Let's start with the second half. It was astonishing. We were bombarding their goal, and there we were, go down 4 minutes into it, and 2-0 down. And as I said to you before we started this interview, second half they had 4 shots, 3 of them went in. We had 16 shots, and we just couldn't turn them into goals.
Yeah, it's probably the story of the second half of the season, really. We haven't defended well enough. We've conceded too many goals. I think it was 45 goals we said last week. We conceded in the last 22 games. So 2 goals a game to concede in any league will cause you a relegation problem if you're not careful. Again, we've scored I think 72 goals this year. So we've been scoring in the right area. There's areas that I've got to go and look at now. We've got to go and defend properly. We've got to go and defend better than what we've done. But again, for me at times, as I said to you there, the third goal for them, Ben Hurd still moaning at Kieran for not passing the ball to him, and he's got caught out of possession, and we've allowed them down the left-hand side, their right-hand side, and they've ended up getting a corner, and they've scored from the corner. So even we're talking with Ben there, if he defends properly, if he gets straight back into the area, if he gets back to where he needs to be after we've conceded the corner or the goal kick, maybe we'd have defended it higher up the park rather than let him get into the final third. So they're all areas we need to keep going and work on. But again, it's overall I was so pleased with the performance, but I'm so disappointed with the result, and it's tinged with that little bit of sadness that our quality of football which we played today was outstanding, and we haven't ended it, we haven't hit the target enough, and our decision making in the final third when we got there, we never really picked out the person that we should do, and it's taken a world of a free kick from Sean Lucian again to get us back to 2-1.
I think people are going to have different opinions on Sam Merson today. He got a goal to get us back into it, but he did miss a lot of chances. They were off target, but at least he was getting in those positions. I must admit, I was surprised he was taken off as we moved into added time, because he was the only striker we had left out there.
Yeah, but I think with Sam, he'd run his socks off and he was very, very tired, and we just felt somebody like Oren's pace might cause him a problem in behind, and that was the one where Kieran got in after we took Sam off. So we got, as I say, with Sam, he hasn't played probably enough football. I think you spoke about it last week, the amount of times he's come on a sub. Unfortunately, Zane Bantam was called back by Luton on Thursday. It left us a little bit short today in them areas, and we went with Sam, and I felt for 90 minutes, a lot of chances fell to him, but probably the sharpness is lacking by not playing enough football. And they're all the areas that we've learnt from this season of putting players on. Maybe he should have got a little bit more football in the last few weeks, and maybe it'd have been a little bit sharper today. But he took his goal well when he had the chance. He's had 3 or 4 other chances though, where I think at the start of the season he probably would have scored them, especially one just after half time where he felt he was offside, and he stopped where he as I said to him there, he should put the ball in the back and let him worry about the offside flag afterwards.
And a few minutes later, Sean Lucian, as you mentioned, got us level there. He's scored a couple from free kicks this season, superb. Is his consistency been there?
Well, I think if you speak to Sean, it probably hasn't. But there's lots of different areas. Again, with Sean is that we've looked at there's a consistency that he needs to get to, and they're the areas that I spoke to him about. When I signed him from Wealdstone, that was the area that they felt that there wasn't a consistency from him. But he's been excellent the last 4 or 5 games. He's come back into the side. He's got his goals. He's worked hard for the team. But they're players, you know, them sort of players like Sean Lucian go in and out of games and they phase themselves in and out, and they're the things that we have to just keep working with Sean. You know, we've got to believe in him. He's got to believe in his confidence, and if he does that, we'll have a player that needs to play 42 league games week in, week out. You know, we've got to get him back in pre-season, get him training correctly, and hopefully, you know, we can get a response from him again next year. We just got to be careful once the pitches change slightly and it gets a little bit colder. You know, everyone says and I mentioned that he doesn't, you know, produce the same goods when it gets a little bit colder and the pitches get a bit heavier. But you know, I've seen enough in Sean in training that there's a player in there. We just got to try and keep getting it out of him.
I think supporters are delighted. We've got Kieran Monlouis signed up for next season, and this week you announced as well Solomon's Sambu, and his performance today, excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just said, you know, with Solomon, he's played in the FA Youth Cup final for Fulham against Chelsea a couple of years ago, and he just lost his way a little bit. I think he had a few, you know, personal problems at home, which has been resolved now in terms of where his agent is. We took a chance on him when we signed him from Hayes and Yedding, but we just felt there was a player in there that wants to get back into being a pro footballer. He's a bit like Junior Moraes last year, and Solomon has come in and he's took his chance great. He's got a great energy about him. He's a very good footballer, and the same as Kieran. You know, he was at Stoke City, again lost his way, ended up playing for Sudbury in Suffolk. You know, we had him watched a couple of games, and the same thing with him. We took chances on the pair of them. They've both come in and been great for us. They've given us a fantastic energy. You know, one's 20 and one's 21, so two great players for the future, and hopefully they'll help us progress where we want to get to. But also, if they do well, a bit like Junior, there's two players there that might have an opportunity of getting back into the pro game.
During your time at the club, Ian, so what, a year and a half, year and a quarter, or whatever, it's been an astonishing ride. It was up and up in the first end of last season, I should say, up and up the first half of this season, and the second half of the season, obviously it has slumped down. Our format last season, the last 11 games, had that been continued for a whole season, we'd have won the league. Our last 22 games of this season, we would have been relegated. But do you think we're actually in a better position to end the season than the results suggest at the moment?
I would say the performances over the last 6 games, but as I say, no one can take away what results are, and you end up where you've been over 42 games and we haven't been good enough. And as I've said it and I'll say it again, that comes from myself, that comes from the coaching staff, that comes from everybody in that changing room. We as a group of people haven't been good enough in the second half of the season, which is disappointing. But you know, you have to look back at different things in different areas, and maybe the changes I made in January, though I felt they were right, we was losing Junior. There was talks of Theo going, there was clubs interested in him, and I just felt the two defenders in terms of Josh and Ben started to get exposed by Oxford at times and Hampton at times, and it was right to bring a couple of players in. We brought them in. Maybe it took a little bit too long to gel. Charlie and Jack both come in, but they hadn't really got any match fitness, which has taken us a long time to get them back. I think we're seeing the rewards now from the pair of them, and that's really where we've been. And probably, you know, at the time of the changes, were they right? If you look back, they probably wasn't, but I felt they needed to be done, losing Junior Moraes, as I say, and maybe losing Theo. We lost a couple of games, and once we lost a couple of games, the confidence did fall a little bit. And then I think we maybe had a little bit of blame culture where people didn't want to go and work hard enough for the team, wanted to blame other people for the mistakes that was being made. And then we made the decision to make the changes when we did, probably 6-8 weeks ago. And then we brought some young lads in with some energy, wants to be at the football club, want to play for the football club, want to win games of football, and we've seen an upturn in form. Though we've only won 2 of the last 7 and drawn 5 and lost 1 now, which is today, which is disappointing. I really believe we've got a good group of lads here that the majority now are on deals for next season, you know, and I've got to go now in the summer and work on bringing 4 or 5 in just to make us better than what we are at the moment, because if we have too many draws in this league, we'll end up in the relegation battle, as you've just said. So we've got to turn the draws we've had into wins. We've got to defend better than what we have, and but that will come in the next sort of 8-10 weeks, what we've got before we start pre-season back at the end of June.
I would think in your mind you already know your targets for next season. Of course, you wouldn't have spoken to any yet because they're probably under contracts and whatnot, but are you looking forward to the summer?
Yeah, I am. I'm looking forward to the summer because the amount of bodies we've got on already for next season. So we've probably got 8 or 9 of them already on deals. It's important now that, you know, I speak to the players that are not on deals, to decide in my head. I know what I want to keep and probably what won't be here next year, and I've got to discuss that this week, these players. And then if them players that haven't signed deals for next season want to stay, that'd be great because we can build around it. But we need 3 or 4, you know, 3 or 4 real I'm not saying so much men, I'm just saying bodies that want to come in and defend properly for me, and then we've got to get another goal scorer in, because we can't be relying on the goal scorers we've got, because you only need one injury or something and it will cause you a problem. So we know we've got areas there. We need to decide in terms of what wide players we need to bring in. We need to bring another wide player in. We need to see where we are. But defensively we need to make sure that we're bringing the right players in as well, because we're not far away, but we need to have some men out there who want to keep clean sheets, and it hurts them when they concede one goal, let alone 3 goals. It doesn't hurt enough at the moment if we concede 3 goals. But then again, we've got to just make sure that we keep it right in terms of what we're doing going forward. You know, I want us to play with the freedom we played again today. I want us to play and pass the ball like we've done today. But when we get in them areas in final thirds, we've got to go and work on it. We've got to go and punish teams. And the only way to punish them today was to get in front, get 1 or 2 up, and then we might have got them 1, 3 or 4. But in the end, we're chasing the game from 1-0, 2-0, and then again in the last minute we can see the third.
Final word on Eastbourne, Ian. Last time we played on plastic, we lost 5-0 at Sutton. So there's 5 goals again today, but we're getting better. Pitch, it was excellent, wasn't it? I should imagine you'd love to have one.
It's funny enough, I just said earlier, to be fair, I think these sort of things, we played Hendon the other week, and I really enjoyed our performance that night. And again today, I've enjoyed our performance. You know, the boys are very comfortable on it. I think it's one of them that will have to take preference in terms of where we are at this standard, because when you get one of these, it actually brings an influx of finance into the club. I think Sutton have already seen that, and I'm sure Eastbourne will say exactly the same. But it, and that's not being disrespectful to Hungerford and to Oxford and teams like that. You know, it's very difficult to go there and play the style of football we want to on a pitch that's going to be at this stage of the season short of grass and very hard and bumpy. And as I said, that's not being disrespectful to them, but that's the way the pitches are this season. But certainly when we've had pitches like this, and again, that might be the reason why our form dipped. The quality of the pitches changed after the Christmas period. Certainly going to Oxford there, the pitch was very heavy, very muddy, and we couldn't get the ball down and pass it. But here today, it was a true bounce. We passed the ball well, and it is a lovely surface. Just to walk on it, it just feels like you're on sponge, and the players really enjoyed that today. And I think as the seasons go on, more and more teams will turn to this, because it's hard to maintain grass now. It's hard to maintain the quality of the pitches. Where this, once you've got it down, you maintain it properly, and it's a lot cheaper, and you can actually have revenue coming in, day out for 365 days of the year.
Well, that's the end of a season, Ian. It will be memorable because of a Carlisle match. That'll go down in history as one of our all-time classics, and a fascinating first half of the season. Supporters of the interviews, they've enjoyed your openness, and I think they'd all like to say thank you.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it, and let's hopefully we can rebuild again and have a better go next season.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Ian.
Cheers, Dave.